All right, team, we're back with the Ask Maddie show. Bitcoin's eyeing $94,000 while altcoins are either sitting flat or pulling back. I'm very excited to get into today's show. You guys left a lot of good questions. Before we get into that, though, we hit 10K subscribers, so another little golf clap this week.
Let's go. Thank you, guys.
Man, that is so tremendous. You know, we started with the Ask Maddie show. This year, we're like, okay, Bull Run's coming. We need to add another show. Then we added the After Hours show. And we've been diligent. We've shown up almost every single week on YouTube. So, I think it was a very impactful year. I think we covered a lot of the things that we like to talk about. And I know you guys have some other cryptos that you guys like to hear. But we really dialed it in on XRP, Zcash sometimes, API3, HBAR, Casper for sure. And I think we gave it our best, and I think we were one of the best to cover those assets, right? Many people will cover a bunch of different assets, but they miss out on the little minutia of each crypto project, right? Nobody covered Casper better than us this year, okay? And that's just that's not being arrogant or whatever, but I just know we put in that work for that, all right? So, yep. Maddie, 10K, what do you think?
I'm just sincerely overwhelmed, super grateful, doing this all organically, not running a single ad, and building a lot of this in the bear market. I think that's what makes me most proud of this is that you guys showed up, you guys, tuned in for a lot of fundamental content, tuned in watching us, kind of develop our show even over the last couple of years here, and have helped us craft it a little bit too. So I'm very grateful and very excited, and let's double it up, 20K next, baby.
Absolutely. Team, you guys left a lot of good questions asking about altcoins that you can be buying right now. What's the best altcoin to go all in on? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to potentially get into an API3 analysis and some additional thoughts on Casper as we are coming out the other side, because it was getting ugly there for a second. And after we saw the Casper pump, there was a sense of relief. So we are going to get into those questions today, team. But before we start the show here officially, become a Crypto Charge member. Click the pinned link down below in the comment section. I have it pinned there. It's the top link. And become a Crypto Charge member. We got the shows, we got the tools, we have Discord, the community, and you can access that through the website. Use code YouTube. Maddie, let's get into the questions and topics of today. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Daniel Sarson 12423 says, what is the best altcoin out of your guys' portfolio that you would still consider buying right now?
Yeah, so that's a good question. If you guys have been with the show for a minute now, or you guys are a member, you guys know that we always are looking for laggards. We're always looking for opportunities that are still offering good risk to reward. We're looking for opportunities that haven't broken out, incredibly aggressively. So there's a few things in my existing portfolio right now that I would say that, obviously you're not buying the bottom of any of these assets, right? That best time to do that was 6-8 months ago. But as far as still being good deals today, I know that we're going to get into this later, but API3 is definitely a sleeper. I think a lot of people are ignoring it right now, very small cap. Casper has pulled back quite a bit now, right? We pushed up to almost 2.5 cents. We pulled back, quite significantly here. Casper trading at 1.5 cents at time of recording. This is right around the value zone that we were describing. So between 1 and 1.5 is a really good value for Casper. I would say that Zcash, even though it's kind of towards the top of accumulation from a macro perspective, is a very good deal. Now, a couple things in my portfolio that I would stay away from right now that I still have very long-term bullish momentum on is going to be Algorand and HBAR. Not enough of a significant pullback there. I really want to get too cheeky with that. I probably still want to get cheeky with XRP right now. I think that's a little bit lofty. We probably will get opportunities to add to those on higher lows when the market does see a little bit more of a correction, but I would try to stay away from some of those hot boys right now. Focused on the accumulative behavior. A lot of the assets that you guys see that broke out right now recently, right? Like the ones we just talked about, HBAR, Algorand, and XRP, those were all in accumulative zones that seemed like they were never going to break out. So it's a lot easier to buy the accumulation. You can have a DCA on in accumulation. I would say now's a good time to DCA into Casper now that we've pulled back quite a bit. That's a very, very easy trade for you guys. So plenty of opportunity out there. Try not to chase the big green candles. Try to, jump on things that have pulled back, 50, 60% or still in accumulation.
HT The Truth says, what crypto asset would you be comfortable going all in on as like a savings account?
All right, so that's contradictory. We don't work that way, right? Like, so if it's a savings account, then you just want to be earning some interest on some stables, right? But I mean, you could basically do that with fiat now. At pretty much all online banking sectors. Ally's going to offer you like 5 points right now on your cash, and it could just sit. So if you're going to talk about using like a savings account, I think what you're really getting at is more like a long-term hold that you don't plan on touching for a very long time. So going all in is something I never recommend. I know that a lot of people want to do lump sum buying. There's plenty of data out there that, suggests that, lump sum buying for the most part is not going to be a good strategy unless, you plan on holding for 15, 20 years. So out of absolutely everything in my portfolio right now, I don't think that there's a single thing that I would go all in on right now at one price, especially considering the altcoin market is broken very hard. I just don't think now is a good time to do any sort of massive lump sum buying. Now, again, maybe you pick something that you really like and you start to do some DCA into it and you start to, average into it. I think that makes a lot of sense. But as far as going all in and treating it like a savings account, that's kind of backwards, because remember, crypto is a risk on asset, right? So savings are something that just goes up over time, or or stay the same with a little bit of interest over time at a steady gradual rate. That's the point of a savings account. Your risk on is for volatility and something you have a completely different risk appetite for. So please, guys, never treat a crypto portfolio, regardless of how bullshit you are on it, as a savings account, because the volatility is unpredictable a lot of the time, right? You buy XRP, let's say even at 50 cents, it's a good price, right? And if it goes down to 30, guess what? It's still a good price, but that's not a savings account, right? Because savings accounts aren't supposed to go down. So I want you guys to always consider that we should never be all in. We should never be taking money from our savings that's supposed to be, hey, if we lose our job for 6 months, and then cramming that into crypto because, we want to make a lot of money, right? We got to still have safeguards for ourselves. Things happen in the world, right? Like we can look at all the things that have happened in the markets, and they can be look as bullish as they are. You guys can't predict the next, international conflict that's going to ensue. You guys can't predict all these black swan events. So never treat crypto like a savings account. It should be an investment account, which you have a risk appetite for.
Very good. Dylan says, what about API3?
What about API3? So API3 for me is, first of all, it's still a very small cap. We're trading at a $1.85 here, a couple $100 million here, depending on, what time of the day we're talking about. And it's definitely one of the more volatile assets that I've owned. I would say that probably out of the majority of the things I own, that API3 is probably one of the most volatile. Now, with that volatility and with that small cap, the upside is absolutely tremendous. So API3 is an oracle. So if you guys are familiar with Chainlink is also an oracle. So if, to scale it back a little bit more here, if you guys are checking the weather, you're looking at a sports score, an oracle or an API3 or an API is pulling that information into the application. So it's pulling information from other sources. So with Web3, when you guys are feeding smart contracts, so, if I need to call on a price, if let's say we're using a volatile asset in a smart contract, for example, Ethereum, and I need to know what the price of Ethereum is, I need to make sure that data feed is not going to be corrupted, because if the prices of Ethereum is incorrect, it's going to say that I need to input a lot more Ethereum in order to compensate for whatever the contract price is, right? And then somebody's going to make off with a lot of money, and I'm going to get very screwed for the NFT that I wanted, right? So it's important that we have uncorrupted first-party data feeds, and API3 provides that. You guys can go look at the website. There's tons and tons of information. Go do some research on it. They're integrated into just about every major exchange and a variety of other DeFi platforms. But the upside on API3 is absolutely tremendous. So this is one of those opportunities I'll talk about, and we'll go ahead and take a look here at the chart here together. We'll come out to the 3-day chart. So you guys can see that it's actually really hasn't done a whole lot since we really dropped down in the bear market. So we came into this accumulative behavior. If you guys were a crypto charge member, boy, was I playing a very spicy game here at API3. I told you guys when we broke below this dollar region, I said, hey, below $1 and basically cricket up API3 DCA to 150%. So aggressive DCA. Once we're back of $1, I backed it down to my normal DCA. Once we broke over $2, I turned my DCA off. I actually did a little TP up here between 350 and 425. The team was made aware of that the entire time, so it wasn't a little secret trade I did. Everybody was fully aware, and then I've been rebuying that back. So not only did I make some profit already, and now I've strengthened my API3 position without having to add additional dollars. Now I've also added additional dollars because I'm very, very bullish on this setup here. So when you guys look at the grand scheme, though, you guys can see that really anything under like 220 is a pretty good deal for API3. It hasn't really done that big breakout move yet. And I think it's really geared up to do it, especially with that small market cap. It doesn't take a lot of money to make this market move. So we look at even TP1 being around $16, $17 from current market price for API3 right now up to that first big target is about a 7 or 8x. Up to the 4.236 could be upwards of a 22x. Now again, it is a very small cap. Maybe I'm selling myself a little too short here. I still have plenty of staking rewards for API3 I've been having in the pool for over a year now. So, if we do get up to some of these crazy prices, maybe I'll unload a little bit of that. But small cap, still in accumulation, great opportunity. This is a gimme for you guys. So, if you want to pick up some API3 under 225, it's probably a very safe spot to do so. I would set a limit maybe around $1.30 to maybe like $1.48 if I wanted to set a limit. But DCA is probably your best friend right now when it comes to API3.
Maddie, we're flying through these questions right now. Is there any other altcoin that is similar to API3 on your watch list like right now that is behind that you could look at doing some purchasing right now?
Sure. So this is not necessarily a long-term hold for me. I'm actually trading this as a swing trade, and I'm gap hunting. So if you guys are not familiar with what gap hunting is when we talk about just general market theory, we talk about what market makers do to create a market. When there's a large order block that's created, and sometimes you guys will start to see that illustrated on the chart as an area of support or an area of resistance. So there's lots of trading behavior that goes on. There's lots of bids and sells in there. There's a lot of people trading volume and changing hands at those prices. Now, when price exits one of those zones with a breakout, whether it be a capitulation to the downside or a breakout to the upside, and you don't see any sort of, for example, let's say that we are in a breakout period to the upside. So we see a breakout to the upside, and you don't see any selling opportunities offered to back test the top of that zone. That is something we consider an imbalance. When an imbalance is created, that becomes an area of interest. So generally what you'll see is market makers continue to try to drive price back into those zones because there's lots of orders up there, and that's where they're going to make the most money. So yanking price from zone to zone is the absolute end game of what market makers do to make money. So when we look at something like the sushi chart here, and that imbalance works in both ways. And I see there was a clear support level here on sushi. So I can see that we had this whole order block up here. So you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about when I say that. You see here in 2020, the initial little down candle. You see the contention here in 2021. You see a lot of price action that's developed here between 590 and $10 back here from May of 21. Then again, big resistance rejection here in December 30. And as you guys can see, we capitulate here, but we don't really offer any backtesting, right? We didn't come back into the zone, confirm this as a new ceiling of resistance. We just continued this cascade lower. Now, what sushi has done here, and I'm actually going to pull this out to a 4-day frame just so it all fits cleanly on our screen here as a team so we can see what's going on. And I'm going to grab the bottom here. So we have a clear bottom that was built here, and then there's another cap to the bottom here as well. So do you guys see how the bottom of this order zone, the bottom of this pocket, looks very similar to the top of this pocket here? We also have generally in the middle of a zone something called a pivot zone. So that's going to be kind of the zone where we're either going to remain bearish or we're going to flip very bullish. When you guys get the opportunity to buy the bottom of accumulation zone, so you see here in 2020, big bounce, 23, big double bottom, and then we saw the move higher, big rejection sensitivity off that zone August 4 here, and now we're kind of sitting on the top of that zone. We can start to look at a very asymmetric trade to hunt down those zones. So you can look at this one of two ways, right? So we can either say to this next pocket up here, you get a potentially 2x upwards of like 180x up into the top of the pocket, so to the middle of the pivot zone, or we can ride this trade out to fill the gap. So the big gap though, because there was all this imbalance down here, the first TP here for sushi for the filling out this gap would be right around a 650% move, so 6.5x. I want you guys to think about that number as well, right? When you think about Bitcoin gains from current market to 240K, 250K, and sushi just filling out this gap here, not making a new all-time high, fantastic reward. So obviously you can target middle of zone here, you can target bottom of pocket, you can target top of the pocket, which is closer to an 11x here. So these are the kinds of trades that you guys really should be looking for here. Not everything needs to be, I have to buy, the microcoin, I have to buy the next shitcoin to make money. There are high probability setups that you can actually use tangible price action for to hunt down good opportunities. So I would say that sushi is also a good, situation to handle here. If you really want to get tactical with it, there's probably 4-hour chart opportunities and 1-hour chart opportunities as price gets moving to, get trades in between here. But that gap between $2 and $6 and even upwards of $9.50 is very, very lucrative. We've seen it filled over and over and over again on a variety of charts. There's a lot of alts that haven't done this move yet. You guys can check out other ideas like this in the Discord as well as on the website to kind of hunt some of these gaps down and do some, cheeky trades that don't involve waiting for new all-time highs.
Original JRL says, but you gotta admit that shakeup of Casper Labs leaving the chain is a bigger shakeup than most veterans in crypto have endured. If you're still holding Casper, good job.
I don't know, man. I've been an XRP holder for a long time. I'm like an XRP grandpa. And I would say that was probably one of the biggest things I've had to endure as a holder was through that XRP lawsuit. And it went on for a long time, right? Like technically the Ripple is still in court with the SEC over, institutional sales. But I would say that was probably a bigger shakeup than this Casper news. And again, I think that the reason that it was a quote unquote bigger shakeup is because most quote unquote investors were not aware of the difference between a for-profit entity and a non-profit entity. So yes, There was lots of cross collaboration, but I know that there was a variety of people that thought that the Casper chain was being absorbed into the Hedera chain based on that news. So you had, I think, more of a larger group of people that didn't understand what was happening as a whole and panic sold because they thought the chain was going to zero. So yeah, it was definitely a shakeup. It was definitely frustrating. I definitely wasn't happy about, the departure and the timing. And there was a variety of different ways they could have gone about this, still parted ways without, leading us along and telling us what they're going to be deploying in the coming months here and then not delivering. So I understand that being very frustrating, but I wouldn't say it's the biggest shakeup that I've seen in my years of crypto, but definitely something frustrating. I think that it also just points to how much we should have invested, the way we invested, and if we're putting everything into one asset, into one coin, yeah, you're going to have a lot more of an emotional reaction to that. And I know that some holders, and I can tell from the Telegrams community, that's how a lot of people did invest, right? They took all the money in their savings account, they put it all into Casper at one price, and then they were very frustrated by this and they didn't do a lot of research. So, I think it also points to just making sure you do your research, understanding the fundamentals. And you know what? It is a lot of work, guys. It's a lot of work to do this. And that's why I try not to get involved in 20, 30, 40 projects. I try to hunker down into a handful so I can see what's going on.
Love that, Maddie. Last question here that we're absolutely not going to answer. Cruising with Borgie says, any updates about Zcash? You seem to be the only one talking about it. Well, we talk about it sometimes. Maddie, I don't know if you saw on the community channel, I like, hey, if you guys want Zcash, give us some likes. Nobody liked really the content or the comment I left. So we're not talking about Zcash until you guys show up and like our shit on it, because if we're gonna pull up here and talk about Zcash and you guys don't respond, we're not gonna chart it, we're not gonna talk about it. You'll hear murmurs of it. You can only really hear it on the website. So we're not gonna talk about Zcash today. Sorry, Cruisin', but you're gonna have to gather some people that actually want to hear about Zcash. Because honestly, hey, if you came and asked about a meme coin, we're not gonna talk about it. It would need to take like a plethora of subscribers to come and be like, hey, chart bonk, and then we'll be like, oh, okay. That's absolutely not going to happen today. So if you want to see Zcash on the shows charted, leave it in the comment section down below. Maddie, we discussed a lot of great things today. Good perspective. A lot with these two shows this week, especially for the beginners out there that might be getting lost in the sauce. So any further comments? I know, like, dude, we rushed this show so fast. I'm going to have to start adding more questions. Any last comments for the team here?
Yeah, guys, I know that it feels maybe a little overwhelming, even just some of the stuff I talked about now from a technical perspective. If you guys are brand new, I know it can feel overwhelming. I'm personally a person who believes in like immersion therapy. Like if I want to learn about audio or computers or anything, I just literally start watching people who know a lot about the topic. And then over time, you start to absorb it in. One of the things I would recommend you guys check out, and this is going to be stuff that you guys can check out for free technically, is on Crypto Charge. If you guys use that code YouTube, you guys get 30 days free. And then after that 30 days, you guys get 50% off with that code. We have resources in our library there to help jumpstart your education. So we have the Consistent Investor Strategy, which is about a 50-minute video covering our entire thesis. So, hey, this is how we diversify. This is how we enter. These are the conditions in which we would switch from limit-based ordering to DCA or vice versa. This is how we determine long-term holds. This is how we go about cold storage. We also have a 4-part mini-series on technical analysis. So everything you guys see in the trading view here, and you're like, wow, your charts look really clean. I want mine to look like that. I walk you guys through how to set yours up like mine. We talk about support and resistance. We show you guys how to use the Fibonacci's. We show you use the moving averages, continuation structures, all that. And I want to say if you go through the website, that's going to be total of maybe about like 5-ish hours of content. There's no way that you walk away from that not feeling more educated. And there's no way within 30 days you guys can't accomplish that. You guys can't catch 3 to 4 weeks worth of shows. You can't get in the Discord and ask questions. I would highly recommend you guys come at least check it out. If you don't feel supported after you going through all those resources, yeah, you're probably a lost cause. But I really want you guys to be as successful as possible this cycle and cycles beyond this. So come check us out at Crypto Charge. You guys don't want to go this alone. I promise. 9 out of 10 people that I talk to do not feel good doing it on their own. I review people's portfolios. I look at what they've been doing. They feel frustrated. They feel embarrassed about what they did previously, and you shouldn't. We all make mistakes, but you don't want to continue to make those mistakes. You don't want to continue to have to feel like you're doing it all on your own. Come be part of the group. It's $50 a month right now with code YouTube. That will change. It will go back up to $100 a month after the top of this year. So you guys have a little over a month here to get involved. So come check us out at Crypto Charge.
Don't be a loser, team. Stay away from those losers. We're only winners over here. If you looked at my portfolio, I'm feeling like a winner now. But team, great content this week. If you got something valuable here, make sure you leave a like, and we will see you guys on Monday. Bye.